Deep in the Horn of Africa, a kingdom endured. Ethiopia, a land of ancient history and vibrant culture, stood strong against the tide of colonialism sweeping the continent. This was the empire of Menelek II, a ruler who would etch his name into the annals of history. He would face down empires and secure his nation's freedom. Imagine the dust rising from the hooves of charging cavalry, the clash of swords, the thunder of rifles. These were familiar sounds in Menelek's time. Ethiopia faced threats from all sides. European powers, hungry for land and resources, carved up the African continent. Menelek knew he had to act. He understood that his empire's survival depended on strength and unity. His story is one of resilience, of a leader who refused to let his people be subjugated. Born in 1844, Menelek II was destined to rule. He descended from the Solomonic dynasty, claiming lineage to the biblical King Solomon and Queen of Sheba. This gave him immense legitimacy and authority. His people saw him as a divinely appointed leader. Menelek was a shrewd strategist and a charismatic leader. He understood the changing dynamics of the world. He saw the growing power of European nations. He also recognized the importance of modern technology. His reign was a time of great transformation for Ethiopia. He knew that to resist European imperialism, he had to modernize his nation. He had to build a modern army. The late 19th century was a treacherous time for Africa. European powers, driven by industrial ambitions and colonial desires, engaged in a mad scramble for African territories. The Berlin Conference of 1884 formalized the partition of Africa among European powers. Imagine a continent carved up like a pie, each slice claimed by a distant empire. This was the reality of the scramble for Africa. Ethiopia, under Menelek's leadership, remained a beacon of independence. But the threat of Italian expansion loomed large. Italy, seeking to establish its own colonial empire, set its sights on Ethiopia. They saw it as a key strategic prize. Menelek knew that a confrontation was inevitable. He prepared his nation for the struggle ahead. Section 4. Modernization and military might. Menelek knew that to survive, Ethiopia had to adapt. He embarked on an ambitious modernization program. He established the first modern schools and hospitals in the country. He improved infrastructure, building roads and telegraph lines. But most importantly, he strengthened his army. He imported modern weapons, including rifles and artillery, from European nations. He understood that technology was key to resisting European encroachment. Menelek's efforts paid off. He unified the Ethiopian Empire, bringing together various regions and ethnicities under his rule. He instilled a sense of national pride and unity in his people. Ethiopia stood ready to defend its sovereignty. Section 5. The victory at ADWA, a turning point in history. The inevitable clash came in 1896. Italian forces, confident in their superior weaponry, marched into Ethiopia. They sought to conquer and colonize the ancient land. The Battle of ADWA, fought on March 1, 1896, would decide the fate of Ethiopia. The Ethiopian army, though outnumbered, was well-equipped and well-trained. They knew the terrain. They were fighting for their homeland. The battle raged for hours. Imagine the roar of cannons, the deafening volleys of rifle fire, the desperate cries of soldiers on both sides. The Ethiopian army, inspired by Menelek's leadership and fighting for their freedom, prevailed. The Italian army was routed. The victory at ADWA sent shockwaves throughout the world. Section 6. Menelek's enduring legacy. The victory at ADWA resonated far beyond the borders of Ethiopia. It became a symbol of African resistance against European colonialism. It shattered the myth of European invincibility. It showed that African nations could stand up to European imperialism. Menelek's legacy is complex and multifaceted. He was a modernizer who brought his nation into the 20th century. He was a military strategist who secured his nation's independence. Menelek's story reminds us that the fight for freedom is never ending. It takes courage, determination, and a belief in the power of unity. His legacy continues to inspire people around the world, reminding us that even in the face of overwhelming odds, victory is possible.